which also means that
All right, so my biggest critique here would have been he's talking to a guy who works out every day and understands what discipline is and understands what self-sacrifice is. You don't go and eat whatever you want whenever you want. So when you're trying to describe like what it means to be a Christian, it's like, okay, look, we don't always go and just splurge on whatever we want, right? It's like just because something feels good doesn't mean you go and do it. It's like there has to be like boundaries for us to put ourselves in. It can't just be just because something I enjoy something and just because it feels good, you go and just do it.
Yeah, I think the best I didn't even see that particular clip. So this is off the hip. Here's how I would have addressed Joe. I would have said, the procreative system is highly likenable to the metabolic system, the gastroenterological system. You know why? Because both have a primary function, the primary ergonomic function. The sexual system is geared toward procreation, whereas the metabolic system is geared toward breaking down enzymes from food, metabolism. And both have a secondary function, ergonomic function, both of which are pleasure in either case. Joe, like you said, Anthony, Joe, let's talk about the metabolic system, the gastroenterological system. They're probably technically different, but let's talk about gastroenterology for a second. You're a fit guy. If someone becomes a huge fat ass and abuses the pleasure by a disordered quality or quantity of consumption, abusing their metabolic system, correct? And it's undeniable. One wears that flabby skin suit like a scarlet A, like Hester Prynne. You understand? And that is undeniable. That has actually nothing to do with my religion. It actually has nothing to do with Roman Catholicism, except to the extent that Roman Catholicism affirms everything that's true under the auspices of the natural law. Now let's apply that to the procreative system, the sex organs. It has the similar payload delivery of the secondary purpose, not the telos, but a secondary accidental property of payload delivery of pleasure. What men, I think like you, Joe, have spent much of your life doing is running around laying pipe, which is to say, surrogating the second thing for the first thing. When we put second things first and first things second, we get neither. When we put first things first and second things second, we get both, as C.S. Lewis said. And so you're not self-consistent, Joe. This has nothing to do with my Roman Catholicism. I think Matt was actually wrong to tie this to the Bible or Christianity. I think he needed to tie it to the natural law. Homosexuality is a violation of the natural law, because when you abuse your reproductive system, you are doing what a 600-pound man does. It's a disordered use that surrogates a secondary for a primary end, and there's only one primary end in the sense of teleology. Also, so even a perverted heterosexual man could be accused of doing that, but what's so much worse and so much a violation of the natural law, that's not a violation of the natural law even by fornicating heterosexually, is even simpler than my analogy. My analogy is simple enough. The anus, sorry for kids listening, it's not a sex organ. And the natural law proof of this is that using it as one damages it. Where if one engages in that sort of behavior, they will have to go to the doctor and have restorative surgery that is not at all natural. And it's not.
And to the point where they can't restore it sometimes, right? Sometimes they can't fix it, and you're dealing with wearing diapers later on in life. I mean, sometimes people get it. It's so bad. I mean, you're talking about something that is literally unhealthy for you to do this behavior. It's like, and what Tim is saying is, if you were an alien race looking down upon humans and you wanted to know what the purpose of sex is, the purpose of sex is procreation. The secondary is pleasure. It's the purpose of it is to procreate.
Yeah, you get that self-same secondary pleasure from eating too much. But no one, the reason I love this analogy is because there's such a natural situational dichotomy between those. Because most people that like to have recreational sex with lots of different people keep their bodies in great condition. So they're the first ones to be like, oh, this, they look down on people like this guy had, you know, 4 different kinds of carbs in one day, bro. What he's abusing his metabolic system. His body's his temple. There are always anti-religious people saying your body's your temple. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's you're right. It is gross when people abuse their metabolic system for the accidental pleasure release. Well, it's even grosser. It's as grosser when somebody abuses their reproductive system for the pleasure dump.
Yeah, because at least when you're eating too much, you're still within the natural order, right? So when you're abusing the sexual, well, you're diverting from the natural order when you're going into this area, right? I mean, there could be men. That's why it's like when people don't understand, if there are priests who have an affair with a woman, it's not as bad. It's still bad, and they still abuse their vows, and they broke their vows. But no, it's not as bad as a priest having a gay affair. It's just not. Like it's something that if the priest repents, can actually get back and get his ministry back in order from. Whereas the other one, I don't think he can ever get his ministry back in order, and he should be removed from the priesthood if that's the case.
It's very simple. That, you know, the latter does not involve a violation of the natural law. Heterosexual fornication, it's natural, it's vice, but it's natural vice. Whereas homosexuality is unnatural vice, and that should suffice. Even whereas homosexual marriage is simply not marriage because you don't have the natural conventional unity constituting the formal act of two human beings, an XX and an XY's procreation capabilities, which he might not have had that. It's a mouthful. But what he could have said is that, I'll give you an example of something that doesn't violate the natural law, Joe. Polygamy. Aquinas is very specific that polygamy does not violate the natural law. You still have and it couldn't, because the Israelites had it up until the Mosaic law, right? So you can't have Abraham through Moses violating the natural law. It wouldn't work out, and it wouldn't happen that the chosen people did that. But so literally you have a generically procreation capable XX mixing with same XY. He has more than one mate, and it's not the best. And because of the hardness of the hearts of the Israelites and things like that, it was allowed. But Aquinas says it didn't violate the natural law. A young person still, whether male or female, still knows and is raised with their father and their mother. Yeah. It's weird from our Christian point of view to have a coven of different mothers and their offspring, but it doesn't violate the natural law. Homosexuality does. It's simply not even sex, really. It's a kink. You're using... You know,
it would be the equivalent of like making like somebody who likes golden showers. I know it's awful to say, but it'd be like somebody that likes golden showers making that an actual identity, right? It would be the equivalent of that. Tim, you want a time limit? You got.
Tim is so much better with analogies than you, Anthony. So much better.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Dude, we were looking at having our bathroom redone, and I liked. You're not talking about anything other than like doing your shower all in gold, right? That's
that's 100%. Your shower.
That's